dark, you gotta see the light. Cause if you want success, it comes with sacrifice. Even when they tell you no 100 times.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Thank you all for coming out to ComplexCon because cool sneakers and shit is fun. But more than that, new ideas from the artistic and business perspective is fun as well. I'd like to introduce a brother who has given hit records to other people as a producer. He has had hit records on his own. He has transitioned as not only the most fierce MCs and producers out of the South, but also as a community activist and advocate and businessman that not only provides disturbance in Congress when he tells them what we need in our neighborhood, but provides real jobs in places like Atlanta, where a banner vision has been born and is now spreading across the world. So allow me to introduce my colleague, my friend, my brother, first, David Banner.
What's that?
Next, a friend of ours, a young man who brought the world trap music, fresh off Bankhead, trapping off Simpson Road to now become a father, a husband, and one of the examples as a black man that I would like to see the world acknowledge more of. He's a friend, he's a Grammy Award winner, he's a hit song because he wakes up in the morning and feels like doing one, and he's one of the greatest human beings, a business partner and business people in Atlanta. His name is Tip Harris. You guys please give him a hand.
Yes, sir.
Love.
Yes.
I'd like to talk to these gentlemen today about some ways that we community build, we buy back the block, and we can transform as a community in hip-hop culture. So thank y'all for being here, man.
It's good to be here.
This pretty cool. Ain't no Hennessy. We ain't smoking no weed.
Yeah.
This is usually
The day's early.
the day. Both of you guys are my friends, and we have been friends, associates, brothers for a very long time. We've been on a 15-year trek of sorts, kind of figuring out who we were in the context of music and bigger than music. But I wanted to ask both of you guys this. When did each of you realize you had a responsibility to invest in and build up your local communities?
It came after the rich and famous shit kind of settled in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right around like year 12, 13.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then I started to see the transformation of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
When we was young, you know what I'm saying, when we were running the streets, Bankhead was filled with black business owners.
Yeah.
And you had all kinds of examples of entrepreneurship, and people owned their houses, had been there for generations. Everybody knew each other on the streets. You know what I mean? Now, or at the time I noticed, it was more people walking up and down the street. We ain't know who was that.
Yeah.
They staying in who house? Oh, she died? Damn.
Yeah.
It's a different motherfucker in that house every month now.
Yeah.
Which they don't have any incentive, you know, to keep the community revitalized. So it just starts to deteriorate.
So what you're talking about is when we grew up, Tip and I grew up within streets of each other. So at one point in time, people owned their houses, they upkept their yards, they took good care of their surroundings, they looked out for their neighbors.
Sure.
And with those people dying off, it turned from a neighborhood of ownership into rentership.
Right.
And with rentership, you had people, landlords necessarily weren't treating them well, they didn't treat the houses well, they didn't look out for neighbors, and an influx of things like crime and stuff starts.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Banner, when did you, in reference to Atlanta or Jackson, realize that it's time for me to be a part of the community?
Well, with Mississippi, that was always, you know, my thrust. Ever since I became a solo artist, I realized nobody really cared about where I was from.
Yeah.
You know, watch people, you know, when I would go to other cities, they would come down in spaceships.
Yeah.
And they would come to Mississippi, and I watched, everybody always say, like, David Banner, why you so cool? Why you treat people the way that you treat people? Because I used to remember how it used to feel when people would come on our land and how they would treat the children. So Mississippi was always, you know, the thrust and my motivation for everything that I did musically. I think personally, though, it went to another level when my choice of spirituality changed. I realized that, especially dealing with our people, that I believe that we're looking for God in the wrong place. I think the answer to every question in your life is inward. So in order for us to change our community, the people who have put us in the situations that we're in, they're never going to change. Historically, we see that. So everything that you want in your life, if you want it to be better, even you remember when we used to try to get record deals. I realized in Mississippi when I first started off, nobody wanted to sign me until they saw how much money I was making independently on my own, homeless in a van. When I had more spins than a lot of the artists on Universal, then people were interested, not because of the talent, but because of what I had done for self. So I think for me, the key to everything, any answer that you have in life is always self. And I don't believe anybody is gonna take care of us and our community better than we will.
Absolutely.
Right on. I mean, now, just to more over on the point of my brother, like we got to understand that we were born free.
Yeah.
We were born equivalent to another human being based on, biology, organs and skin and bones and so have you. So we got to stop asking people for something that they don't have.
Yeah.
They don't have our freedom. You can't ask for your freedom. You can't ask for equality.
Yeah.
Because if a motherfucker is oppressing you, he's oppressing you to benefit himself. So you basically go into him and say, hey man, please stop benefiting yourself by making me lesser than.
Yeah.
Allow me to be at the same level as you so you can have less and I can have more.
Yeah.
You can't ask no motherfucker for no shit. Excuse me.
Say it plain, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I told him you
ask
can't
for
cuss.
that.
We ain't doing the panel, guys.
Well, shit then.
Well, I got a quote that I say to myself and I say to my children, I say to my friends and family a lot. You already free, now act like it.
Right.
Banner has always acted as though I'm already successful. Even when he was sleeping in a van, he was wearing Jordans. Can you explain how you found success building up your local communities? What worked well and what didn't work so well?
So I was asked about a half a year ago, this question. I hear this question all the time. What is the greatest accomplishment that I've ever had in my life? And it used to be, producing for this person, making this amount of money. I can now say that I've been able to pay payroll for 5 years consistently for my staff, and I have an international staff with a banner vision. Y'all should go to the website, check it out. And that makes me feel better than anything in my life. There was a woman that works for me, Regina Davenport. You know Regina.
Absolutely.
I watched her struggle and I watched her help so many people. And when I first came to Atlanta, they wouldn't let me in those studios. I was a little bit rougher. About that time you saw the tech. I came to Tip's studio. Tip had a studio in the back of a barbershop. And I was getting all my stuff out. I said, brother, let me help you. And he pulled inside my Tech 9 in the van. He was like, that's my kind of dude. Let's go make some music. But I think my biggest accomplishment and the thing that I did right is learning the best way that you can help black people or any person is get them a job.
Yeah.
People are tired. These children, most of these kids don't want to sell dope, but they know they're going to get something if they do.
Yeah.
If you tell them to go to college, well, the thing that they definitely going to get is debt. Not saying that that's what you shouldn't do, but these children know better, so we have to provide and stop talking and giving them theory. Now, the biggest mistake that I made is trying to help everybody. You can't help everybody. Everybody doesn't want it the same way that you want it. And a lot of times when I look at people, even family members, anything that's given to somebody on the plate, they'll never totally respect it. The other thing that I'll say is I think I tried to take on the responsibility of the world. This preacher told me one time, he said, you're always trying to be Jesus and wonder why you keep ending up on the cross.
Dang.
And I never thought about that before. He said, do what you can for your people and go home and get some rest. Because me and you talk about that all the time. We still had that problem about not sleeping.
Can't pour out an empty cup.
Yeah,
so I think that's my answer to the question.
What about you, Tip? What's worked, what hasn't? And what?
Okay. Okay, so I guess the most rewarding thing that I could say was, okay, when I first got my first little, signing bonus from LaFace that I thought was a bunch of money. Subsequently, or should I say simultaneously, my uncle was being released from prison. So he pulled up on me, you know what I mean? I was, doing some dumb shit, blowing money fast as it'll come, you know what I'm saying? And he said, hey man, listen, man, give me $20,000. Like, you $20,000? What the fuck? You just got here. He said, man, you ain't finna do nothing but fuck up the money anyway. Just give me $20,000, man. You know what I mean? I ain't worth that. And so I say, man, here, man. So I gave him the $20,000. Went on to proceed to fuck up the rest. And by the time I had ran out of that money and had to figure out other streams of revenue, probably about 8 months later, he put me in his car and rode me down the street to a house that I was very familiar with this house, but it looked a lot different than when I knew it. And he said, you see that? I said, yeah, I used to sell dope out that house. This Jimmy Jam house. What's up? He said, no, not no more. That's what we did. With the $20,000 you gave me, we bought this house, rehabbed it, and now we put a family in now.
Absolutely.
And it made me feel good to be able to undo some of the damage or to fix some of the shit that I had done fucked up. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Because at the time, when we resorting to the means that we were resorting to survive, we at this point refugees. You know what I'm saying? We are refugees of the war on drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Survivors of the crack era. Okay, so at the time, survival is your main priority. You're not thinking about the deficit or detriment that it has on the community in the long run. But if you live to see the long run, then you'll feel some way about that. And so for me to be able to undo some of the damage I've done was probably one of the most rewarding things that I feel like I've done in the community. Now, the flip side to that is, 6 to 8 months later, when I rode back by that same house that we rehabbed and saw it was a crack house again, I say, well, we got to switch our strategy up. You know what I mean? We ain't gonna make a dent in it like this. One of the most unsuccessful things that I can recall is waiting around for somebody else to see my vision before I act on it. You know what I'm saying? Usually we'll have an idea, we'll have a thought, we'll have, an inclination, something will move inside of us to say, this is what we should do. And the first thing we do is go tell somebody, hey, look, get what I'm thinking about doing. And the first thing they gonna say is,
you can't do that.
What the hell you doing that for? That's dumb. Ain't nobody did that before. Why would you do that? Okay. You see, I realized that if you agree with everything that I thought or envisioned for myself, then that means that you could see what I can see at the same time I can see it, which means I ain't seeing shit for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, a part of being a visionary is being brave enough to go out there against all of the other naysayers and the doubters in the world and say, man, I believe in myself and my ability and whatever's moving inside of me enough to step out and do this, even though everybody else says it can't be done. I had to learn that, the hard way.
Speaking of that, let me bring you to my next question. And my next question is, people know, well, some people know, some people don't know. The three of us are friends, right? So we sing, we dance, we rap, but we also get on the phone and just talk about our community. We talk about the possibilities of things. We talk about doing cool things together. You and I had a conversation. You was like, oh, Kill, I didn't know you was into the real estate stuff. And I was like, wow, I didn't know you were either. And then I was like, man, if you figure out something for us to do together, let's do it. And you say a lot of things in club talk, and then your partner calls you about a month later, like, I need $150,000 because I got us a deal. And then you say, shit, I can't buy that Benz I was scoping out. we bought a 50-year-old famous restaurant in Atlanta called Bankhead Seafood. We bought it together, and we're in the process of bringing that to market. What I wanted to ask you is, can you talk about what was your thinking into why you brought me into it, or why you thought it was a good idea for us to do together, and why it's important, not only to us, but the greater community, why that's an important thing to happen for the west side of Atlanta?
Okay, well, first of all, where we stay is probably the last big bang of gentrification.
And that's the west side of Atlanta.
That's the west side. And that's where we from. You know what I'm saying? We shot pistol, sold dope, ran from the police, did everything it was to do over here. Now, we saw what happened in other areas of the city, like Grant Park, Kirkwood, not Pittsburgh, but
Boulevard. Yeah, they changed.
You know what I'm saying? So we saw how all of a sudden what used to be a dangerous dope hole has become prime real estate. Yeah. And you know when you see gay people gardening and little white lady walking their dogs, something's changed. You know what I mean? But it didn't really impact me. I ain't really feel nothing when it happened to those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Cause I wasn't from there. I don't really have no real, no dog in that fight for real. But when I saw what was happening on the west side, matter of fact, when they were building the dome, the new dome. Yeah. And they were talking about, buying X amount of people out in order for them to have the space. I said, whoa. So you mean tell me that these people who bought this building years ago, now they finna make exponentially more just because they in the way?
Yeah.
I need to get my ass in the way. You know what I mean?
And out of that came some mentorship. For those who may not know, Atlanta was partly built by a black developer called Herman Russell. Yeah. He mentored a young man named Noel, who's now an older black gentleman, and he saw Tip and I on the mayor's transition team. Just two rappers who advantageously decided to get into real estate, and we got a mentor and a business partner out of him. Yeah. So I guess to extend the question, how has the business community received you and rappers who are of the class that they're trying to be jobs providers and creators and business people in Atlanta?
I honestly don't know. I mean, because all people gonna show you is what they want you to see. I don't know. You know what I mean? What's being said after I walk out the room, they finish slapping my hand, smiling in my face, you know what I mean? But guess what? I don't care.
Gotcha.
I own we didn't go and ask for nobody to give us no loan for nothing.
No, we bought it.
We came cash. Here, this is mine. Here's your money. And now let's go on with the rest of it.
Absolutely.
So I think that kind of empowers us. Yeah. And that's another reason when you say what made me think of you, two things. One, because we just had the conversation in the club.
Yeah.
And two, I don't really do no loans and shit. So everything I get cash. I'll be able to do more shit than if I include other people with like minds than just me trying to do everything on my own. And I had a bunch of other deals and shit going through. I had a lot of money tied up, my liquids.
So cooperation is key.
Yeah, this shit is. Gotcha. And group economics, that's something that black people don't do enough of and ain't really figured out a way.
I want to make a comment really quick. And I want to say this in front of everybody for a reason. One of the reasons why I consider these two men my friend is because they're men of honor and men of their word. Like, there's some things Tip told me 4, 5, 10 years ago that he said he was going to do. Actually, when we decided to do Rubber Band Man, I brought the beat to him, and everybody always asks me, did I know Rubber Band Man was a hit? I was like, nah, if I was rapping too, if I knew it was that dope, I would have used it. But Tip has always had vision. Tip came to me and he said, Banner, I know you popping right now as a producer. He was like, bro, he had just turned away from a record deal. How many rappers do that? And he went back and brought himself back to what he ended up becoming. And he said, listen, bro, I'm taking care of all my homeboys. I got $2,500 for you. You give me this beat, I'm gonna make it #1 hit in the United States. He said, I'm gonna make it come back 1,000 times. Damn sure, it came back 1,000,000 times. And he kept his word. Same thing with Mike. We talk all the time, like people always shooting you. Because like, one of my biggest problems is in our community, we always say that we got each other, but nobody's doing shit. Yeah. And you can't depend on people when you call upon them. I think one of the biggest things that we can do in our community is keep our fucking word. Get back to some honor. And these two men, and the thing that I like about them the most is they don't have to be. You know, they choose to do the things that our grandparents, like he reminds me of my grandfather, Tip reminds me of my uncle. Every time that they talk. But anytime it's about business, it ain't about no music shit. It's about being honorable. And the thing that I think we all have come to terms is we got some fucked up ways about ourselves, but you know who we are. So deal with that.
Listen, man, we are inhabitants of extreme trauma. You dig what I'm saying? If you send the average motherfucker who was raised in the church in the suburbs, ain't had a worry in the world, got a mama, a daddy, a dog, and a car, and a house, you know what I'm saying? You send him over to Iraq, Afghanistan, put him in the midst of a war zone for, let's just say, 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. He come back, he ain't gonna be the same. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the same shit all of us are dealing with. Absolutely. We have traumatic experiences that we've endured and overcame, but it has left a stain on us that we can't necessarily wipe away as easily as it was obtained. So I think when we understand that, man, we'll be able to begin to unpack the shit and grow.
That kind of brings me to this question, because we talk about business, we talk about capitalism, we talk about compassionate capitalism. I do a lot. But I gotta say, like, when I see these brothers, I have a habit, I got it from Reverend James Orange, who was featured in the movie Selma. He was one of the lieutenants with Dr. King and one of the principal organizers, right? And he hated my name Killer Mike. He never called me Killer Mike. But he called me and a bunch of Crips and Bloods and Gangster Disciples and VLs who he taught to organize. He called us leader. And when I engaged them, you know, they walk in the room, what's happening, leader, how you doing? David, you have just pushed the line for us and our people in a way that I don't think gets duly acknowledged in the way that it should. So the question is written out, you know, you spent a lot of time speaking in communities doing your God Box lecture series. Can you explain the types of messages you're trying to get across in those lectures, and what do you think communities need to hear? I've heard a few of them, I love them, but these are the cool kids. So in an abbreviated form, what is the most powerful message that you think, besides looking inward, or in addition to looking inward for solutions and answers, that with the God Box series that you've done? I know I walk away feeling empowered and transformed every time I hear you speak. What's at the crux and the core of the message that you'd like to get out?
When I speak, I'm always speaking for my people. And similar to what Tip said, we are the most oppressed people on this planet, so everybody can get a lesson from black folks, no matter what color you are. So when I say that I speak for my people, I think there's a message in everything that I say. But what I'll say is, I think the biggest problem psychologically when it comes to our people is that most black people don't like being black. So no matter what we teach them.
Hold on, say that again.
Most black people do not like being
black.
But
I like chicken, and I like dancing, and cars.
Yeah, people like the things that come along with us.
Until it's time to go to a barbecue, then you want to be
right.
Okay.
So what I learned is this, is that we have to make our people love themselves again.
Gotcha.
Like, if no matter what I teach you, if you don't want to live next to a black person, group economics and us being around each other won't work.
Yeah.
If you don't trust black people, I do this every time I speak. I make our people close their eyes. And I say, how do you really feel about yourself? And because we're amongst certain people, I won't tell you all of the answers, but sometimes I don't trust my people. I'm disappointed in my people. Then I ask them to open their eyes. I say, well, if you don't trust and you're disappointed, then would you shop? You know, one of the things, even with music, if you look at Justin Bieber fans that go bootleg, they're not gonna bootleg because they truly love Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with rap it's the way that we perceive self. It's value of self. So what I try to do with the God Box lecture series is to teach our people that they are gods.
Absolutely.
That they are literally gods.
Absolutely.
And that if you knew, this happened with me. In college, I learned that black people created math and science. So what the fuck are we hollering math is hard for? Our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents created math and science.
Absolutely.
They try to give the credit for the pyramids to everybody but Africans. I'm talking about aliens.
Yeah.
Sand people. Anybody but fucking Africans. So for me, I believe before we get into any of these harsh, big concepts, we first just have to learn to love each other. And that was one of the things that I like about us, and one of the things that me and you talked about. Before I can tell these kids to start fucking with each other, I gotta do this first.
Absolutely.
I gotta show that we fuck with each other. We gotta show these kids how many of y'all saw the NDIRE video I was in?
Don't start.
Look,
Oh my God.
It's for a reason.
What a wonderful time.
It's for a reason.
That's why those shirts went tight, man.
Let's not get it fucked up.
So you getting on your sexy shit.
No, but
that was your
I'm getting on what you been on, bro.
That's what I'm saying. You in my lane.
Hey, y'all, Tip called me and say, bro, you fucking with money, dog. You in my lane. No, but seriously, I want to say this because this is important. One of the reasons why I decided to do this video was because we tell these kids to love our women and we tell these kids to love each other, but they don't know how that shit look.
Yeah.
So we have to show them the movie. We literally have to do it in real time.
Yeah.
So I said, let me partner with India. She needs me, she wants me to do this. I enjoy process. But we definitely have to stop talking and show these kids how it look in real time. And with the God Box lecture series, I was able to go around to each town and do it.
And what I mean by that is, besides wipe all color away. Because even in the Deep South, in the midst of slavery, there was a planter class, meaning the people who actually owned the plantations. They treated poor white people who worked for them like shit. Those poor white people then in turn treated people who were enslaved and of another color like shit. We have a problem in this country where people who are not of working class, people who are poor or working class or lower middle class get kicked around and treated like shit. So what they do is treat one another like that. So whether you're talking about North Little Rock, Chicago, whether it be the west, south, or north side, human beings pass on the trauma that they get. So I'm not as hard on my people because I understand that it's a learned behavior. And just like you learned it, you can unlearn it. And that kind of brings me to our last question. Our last question is, as we near an election cycle, right? So elections matter, and we're gonna all argue over national elections. But national elections do not matter like local elections. Local elections are what transform your schools. They're what decides where money goes locally. They decide where resources are allocated on a local. And many people can tell you something about Trump or whoever is going to be versus him, but they can't tell you who their school board member is, who the leader of their particular ward is, who their county commissioners are, and I think that's shameful, right? What can we do, or young people, what can they do, young people who want to be in business, to be, because the first thing those people do that gentrify, the first thing they do when they move into that poor neighborhood is start going to neighborhood association meetings. Yeah. And they start talking about, we want to change the name of Malcolm X Boulevard to ABC Street. We don't think it should be Frederick Douglass High School. It should just be Freedom School 3 and shit like that. What could we do on a... Yeah, I was on Jamel Hill's show and they were talking about they had a creek in Savannah called Runaway Negro Creek. They were changing it. And she said, what you think about that? I was like, shit, run, nigga, run. That showed that I wasn't complicit in slavery. To me, that was a very, like, hell, we got the hell out of there. But what would you advise young people who are getting into the business world to do now that we've kind of all found ourselves on the political? You testified before Congress. We've helped the mayor get elected. Is it all for naught, or does it still make sense to do? On a local level.
Okay, so.
Now, you know if you tell us to boycott elections, we're going to do it, so don't.
No. That would be stupid.
Okay, all right.
Because Because I still don't go to Houston's.
Yeah.
I still don't.
My wife still can't wear the Gucci I bought her for Christmas.
Yeah.
The shit ain't no good.
Yeah.
Good. We don't need that shit, it need us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean,
All right, so the question, and that's a great question. Local politics with politicians, often we feel we need them. Should we transform the way we look? Do they need us? Are we perceiving it wrong?
I mean, I think there has to be a balance of power, just giving certain leverage and ability to do more together than you can apart.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But just to answer like what I think we could do, first of all, we can't continue to expect our oppressors to educate our children. I mean, you know, and what I mean by that is, the public school system is only going to inseminate the kind of information that they need the people in public schools to have to benefit the system. So I'm not going to expect for them to teach my children anything that I know would be a true benefit for them, which would allow them to upset the operation.
Gotcha.
So, like, you remember when we was in 8th grade, we had like, what was it, Georgia history?
Yeah, Georgia history.
Okay. Now I know y'all, I'm probably, not familiar with Georgia history.
They got us rapping soon too.
Okay, cool. Well, they're gonna have to let me talk.
Yeah.
And then David got something he got to say.
Come on, I'm with it. Give me here.
So Georgia history is basically where they get a bunch of 8th graders, 7th, 8th graders, black kids in a room and tell them how these Confederate soldiers who raped, murdered, pillaged, and enslaved their own kind, how they were heroes.
Yeah.
How in the hell? Yeah, that happened. Still to this day. So how in the hell can we expect anything positive to come from that?
Absolutely.
They would never let no Jewish kids go into school and teach them how Nazis were heroes.
Absolutely would not.
So why are we allowing it to be done now?
And they would not let Nazis teach their children. And I heard somebody say, oh, for real? Well, most of the presidents were slave runners and slave drivers. So if you really are taken aback, look at your damn dollar bills. I mean, let's be real if we're gonna talk real. Now, as far as politics, this is what I've learned. Politicians are whores. And a whore doesn't have anything to do with male or female.
Meaning a prostitute.
A prostitute, right.
Money.
You're selling yourself.
Right. So we are gonna have to start buying politicians, and when they don't do as we ask, it's that simple. One of the reasons why politics doesn't work for us is because we don't know what politics is truly based upon. We have to groom politicians, and we have to give them an agenda. In most cases, if you look at any other group of people and you ask them what they want, those same people who move in and out of our neighborhoods, who gentrify our neighborhoods, they have a specific want, need, and demand from politicians. We're gonna have to develop an agenda, push people who are part of that agenda, fund them, and then hold them responsible for what they said they were gonna do, the same way we used to back in the day. No different.
I was on a young man named Antonio Moore, and we'll wrap it up. He and Yvette Carnell are two of the leaders in a movement called the American Descendants of Slavery, the ADOS movement. And I support Bernie Sanders. They're not the biggest fan of him. But I congratulated him on his show because I said, in 60 days, you guys managed to turn a politician from saying, well, I don't think it's appropriate at this time, right? In terms of reparations, I don't think it's possible, because he knows that they got more Mitch McConnells in the House and Senate than not, right? But within 60 days, he had them, because of the pressure from just working class black people and their allies, got them to say, if and when elected president, I will sign Bill H.R. 40, which Sean Connors had been pushing since 1989 to do a study of reparations. That is the power of local politics. That is the power. So even if I don't agree with every tactic, even if I don't agree with what the ways of freedom you get to, I'm always willing to show up, learn, and push the line. So I got to congratulate them, because they showed me in 60 days that they can get a politician and then honestly kept me in, because I'm like, hey, if he's listening to them, then I know he's going to keep listening to me. So I appreciate them for pushing that line. I appreciate both of you gentlemen for pushing the line in terms of showing men of honor, men of character, men of valor, who do good business with the community, and men who are redeeming themselves from past crimes. I'd like for you guys to stand and thank them.
Thank you.
We appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much. Love you.
Love you too.
Love you, brother.
Respect. Man.